Alright, here for the part 2 or the part few. Don't know, we had one thing. So y'all requested and it's here. This is the part 2 of my immigration journey to Canada.
Them fi know say your father got the lead, father got the lead me out.
During the first video, I left y'all out where, I had just told my parents about a call that I got from my advisor. Yeah, he was my student advisor at the time, my very first student advisor. The school was TSUM, by the way, I forgot to mention that. So that's the Toronto School of Management. So I had an advisor. I'm not gonna mention his name, just for like confidentiality, I guess. He was Indian, but it didn't cause too much communication barriers. I eventually got over that. Not that big of a deal, it's whatever, you know what I mean? The next step was frequent communication with me and my student advisor. We talked almost every single day after the initial phone call and telling my parents about it. And then that's where the requirements came in, where the very next step was this test that I had to do by the name of the Wonderlic test, because that was one of the requirements, right? The requirements, as far as I can remember, I can double check though just to be sure for y'all, but the requirements were age. You have to be at least 18 or an adult by Jamaican standards and some other countries in the world. You had to complete this test by the name of Wonderlic, and you had to be like a high school graduate because it's a post-secondary program. If you have not completed secondary education, then clearly you're not eligible because you need to do it. It's like a prerequisite, you know what I'm saying? I had met every requirement except for the whole Wonderlic testing, which was interesting to say the very least, because even though I didn't know much about it at the time, I was aware of other stuff for other countries like SAT for the US. And then I had later learned that for Canada, it's normally the IELTS that you have to do. The IELTS, yeah, IELTS. That's what I'm referring to. That tests how well you can speak English. I didn't really have to do it. Anyhow, be prepared to take the Wonderlic test because that was one of the requirements. Now, what is the Wonderlic test? I can make another video in detail about that if y'all are interested. But the Wonderlic test is basically this test that tests your mathematical skills, your English skills, and your reasoning skills all at the same time, simultaneously. I believe I had gotten like 25 questions to do, and it was mixed, meaning that some of the questions tested reasoning, some of them tested English, and some of them tested your mathematical ability. I pretty much had short notice to do it. Say I was told to do it this week, which today is January the 4th, about 1 o'clock p.m. 2022, where I was notified and made aware that I had to do it today. I had about 4 days to prepare because they help you to prepare by giving you some stuff to use as practice, some stuff to help you revise, get familiar with some questions that they might give you, because they give you a specific online type of test that's not monitored, but the way how it is, it does not need to be monitored. Some of y'all might be, oh, it's not monitored, it's online, only 25 questions. That sounds like a breeze, but nah, it's not like a breeze, and I'm gonna tell y'all why. Because of the fact that it has a time limit. So that makes it pretty rough. Like, imagine doing 25 questions, multiple choice, by the way, all multiple choice. Nothing was there to write, there was no written part of it, everything was just multiple choice, so you just select an answer. But what made it really tough is the fact that it was mixed and it was timed. So I believe in total for the entire 25 questions you got like 8 minutes. I can double check just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure you only get about 8 to 10 minutes to answer. Hold on, Jano.
2,000 years later.
Right, so guys, remember, it's mixed and it's timed. So you're seeing mathematical questions that you have to solve. You're seeing some reasoning stuff that really tease your brain and you really have to think about it, and you really don't have time to think about it. And you have some English questions testing like your English. How well do you know English? How well do you know context and stuff like that? You know, using she versus her when speaking like a conversation, stuff like that, you know. But as I said, they help you, they give you examples so that you know what to look for, you know what I mean? So yeah, did that, got the highest. I got 21 out of 25 because like they did it in a group setting, and out of the group I got the highest. Not to brag or anything, but that is a part of my story. So after that happened, I had fully met the eligibility, yeah, that's not a word, eligibility criteria, you know what I'm saying? Man, that was just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest, you know what I mean? There's so much to do after that, and I'm still not done with the entire process. It's a very long process. After that came my offer letter, and I took my offer letter, and then I had to pay $1,000 Canadian to secure my seat, because when I was applying, it was like when a lot of people apply, you know what I mean? Because the majority of students, I got the understanding, apply the September intakes, November intakes, July intakes. My initial intake was in July of 2022, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna get into why I actually never took that intake later down in the video. That was my initial intake after I got my LOA, which stands for my letter of acceptance, which is basically just a document that shows how much you've paid so far, your scholarship amount if you have a scholarship. It shows your fees payable if you have a scholarship, because your fees payable is basically how much are you able to pay based on the difference between your scholarship and the total amount of your program fees. I can explain it in further detail if need be, but hopefully that's understandable. It also shows other stuff, like with my program in particular, which is Business Management Co-op. It shows the details of your co-op, which is basically just a work requirement of completing your studies. You have to have an internship at some point in doing your studies to have completed it, because it's an essential component. And then after that came, getting even more familiar with the school, waiting for my intake to actually come so that I could start classes. Also, I had to apply and wait to see if I could receive my visa. I needed a lot of help to get that done because I had no idea what to do. My student advisor was helpful. He was really helpful, but some of the stuff he just wasn't a professional on, so he had to provide connections to help me with stuff like that. Because the school is really small, it's a private institution. Whatever they don't own, they have a connection with, so that you, the student, can still access whatever particular service that you need. So say for example, you need accommodation. School does not provide boarding on site. So because of that, they have a connection with companies that provide boarding, and they give you a discount because of your relationship with your school as a student. Okay? They have that with several other companies, such as for boarding or housing. Same thing. I'm just using them interchangeably at this point. For departure, for arrival at the airport, a bunch of stuff, man. Even in terms of like jobs and stuff like that. So they really are helpful in that department. I started the preparation process of applying for my visa thereafter. There's a lot more to tell. This was part 2. Clearly, there needs to be a part 3 coming up, because I'm not done telling my story, and I'm sure y'all are interested to know what happened next. But thank y'all for having me for the second time. Take care and have a good day. You know what I'm saying? Peace out.
After them I fight me long so long.